Yes, hello, everybody. This is Isaac Blythes, and I hereby call the SPLOST Citizen Oversight Group meeting to order. This is our meeting for June 30th, 2022. This meeting is being held virtually. At this point, we will forego the inspiration and hopefully Randall will join us later. If he does within a reasonable time, we'll revert back to that. But at this point, I'd like to ask that we do the roll call, starting with Ms. Hardy. Just indicate that who you are and what district you represent, or who, and the person and the commissioner or person that appointed you.
Okay. So my name is Teresa Hardy. I am a resident of DeKalb County. I was appointed by CEO Michael Thurman.
Okay, Ms. Wardroff.
And once again, Ms. Waldorf, asking you to unmute. And if you'd like to start your video, you may. And you have been given co-host to control both. She may still be having some technical problems, sir.
Okay, Mr. McDowell.
You're on mute, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Charles McDowell, District 1.
Okay. Appointed by Commissioner
Patrick.
Thank you. Nancy.
Nancy Love, appointed by Jeff Rader, District 2.
Dr. Bussey.
And Dr. Bussey, I am sending you a request to unmute, although you do control that. And if you'd like to start your video, you may. No response at this time, sir.
All right, we'll go back to Ms. Wardroff.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm on. I had a little trouble getting on.
All right, introduce yourself and what district you represent and who appointed you.
My name is Gail Waldorf, and I was appointed by the CEO.
All right, thank you.
And Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, Mr. Mangum appears to have arrived.
Yes, we'll get to him in a minute.
Okay.
Did Dr. Bussey get unmuted yet?
Let's double check. Not yet, but we'll ask her one more time. Dr. Bussey, if you can unmute and start your video if you'd like to.
Okay, we'll circle back. We'll circle back with her. I'm Isaac Blythes, as I indicated earlier. I represent District 4, appointed by Commissioner Bradshaw. Ms. Mangum.
Dina Mangum, District 5, appointed by Marita Davis Johnson.
All right, thank you. Randall.
You are on mute still, sir. There you go.
Yes. Good evening. Hello. I am Randall Mangum, District 7, Dr. Lorraine Cochran Johnson.
Okay, and while you have the floor, if you will give us your traditional inspiration, we appreciate it.
Use the right lane to keep right onto William Hilton Highway.
Fantastic. Our word for the day is found in Psalms 133. And I'm going to do the New King James Version of a somewhat, well, wait a minute. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren, sisters and brothers to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious oil upon the head, running down on the beard of Aaron, running down on the edge of his garments. It is like the dew of Hermon descending upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord commanded the blessing, life forevermore. when there is unity, there is a blessing. Behold how good it is. Thank you.
Thank
There
you.
is the word.
Thank you. Did Ms. Bussey get unmuted yet?
I think so.
All right, if you could introduce yourself and indicate what district you represent and the commission that appointed you.
Dr. Alice White Bussey, District 3, Commissioner Larry Johnson.
Okay, we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Now we'll move to item number 4 on the agenda, which is the additions to or adoptions of the agenda. I trust that everybody's had a chance to review the agenda, and so I, at this time, entertain a motion to accept, adopt, or amend the agenda that's in front of you.
I move we accept the agenda.
A second.
Okay, it's been moved in second that the agenda be accepted. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Could we have okay. Discussion?
Okay, we're back up with, yes. What is your thoughts or comments regarding the agenda?
Let me go back to it. I guess I'd like to add a section for new business.
Okay,
I'll accept that.
is just the subject new business?
Well,
Is there any particular item under new business that you want to identify?
we still have an outstanding election. We don't have to have the election, but I think we need to.
You want to discuss it? Okay, all right, okay. Are there any other additions to the agenda?
Mr. Chair, Ms. Hardy has her hand raised.
Yes, Ms. Hardy.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. One other thing I wanted to add, as it could be new business, is an update from the SPLOST committee as a whole meeting. I think there's some discussion points that I just want to bring to the table so that we are aware. So if we can just bring that, because we don't have that on our agenda, just an overview discussion point from the SPLOST at whole. I think that's what it's called, the committee at whole.
Well, Mr. Kingsbury is going to give a presentation, and I understand it's going to be the same presentation that he gave to the commissioners this morning. And if you will, at that time, if you have any questions or any clarity around it, if you could address that to him at that point, if that's acceptable to you.
Yeah, it's not about his presentation. It's about the actual meeting and what was actually discussed as it relates to this committee. So it's really a discussion point for our committee, not concerning the report, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, all right, we got it.
Thank you.
Is there anything else? And we will make that item number 8. Okay, are there any other additions to the agenda? Okay, not here, none, we'll carry the motion. All in favor of the revised agenda, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, the agenda is accepted. At this point now, we'll move to item number 5, which is the approval of the April 28th meeting minutes. As you all know, those minutes was sent in the form of the actual recording, verbal recording of everything that was said at the meeting. So with that in mind, I would entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the April 28th meeting as sent to everybody. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I will second for discussion.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes, so as a committee, are we now accepting, I mean, I think we need to make some kind of motion to have our minutes as the recording, and then we could accept it. That's just my thought. I don't know if this committee says this is something we need to do. I'm open to it, but when we think about meeting minutes, I thought we were looking at minutes that were literally recorded in a document perspective and not the video. So if we're going to use the video, I would make a recommendation that we consider that something we do as a group instead of just accepting it. Just a thought.
Any other discussion around that thought before we take
Mr.
the
Chair,
motion? Yes.
Mr. Chair, it may be helpful just to have a written transcription of that. I don't think if it's through, are we through, I don't know whether we through Zoom or whether we through, which format are we going through, but they have ability to transcribe that also. So that would have a written recordation for those that don't want to, for posterity's sake.
And I would add to that, I believe the minutes need to be something that the public could review. And, you know, that's something we can talk about, but I would agree with Mr. Mangum and Ms. Hardy that we need something that's on the record.
Are there any other thoughts around this?
I agree that we need to have printed minutes. My last community meeting, I took a copy of the minutes from the SPLOST that I received and let the community review them.
Any other comments? Okay, with that in mind, as all of you know, we've gone around this a number of times, and this would clearly be something that would have to be facilitated through our liaison at the county. So I will get with Ms. Baker Barkin and share, you know, the wishes of this group with her and see what kind of plan the county can come up with to accommodate your wishes to have a written documented set of minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I believe Mr. Williams had his hand raised and was willing to comment.
Yeah, we appreciate your comments.
Yeah, but thank you, Mr. Chair. And I was just, because I do understand, although I haven't been at each of the meetings, that this has been a topic of discussion in the past. So, you know, whatever the committee prefers, you may want to vote that you want transcripts or a certain type of minutes or whatever you want. If you can formalize that, we can just make it happen.
I might add, I went back and listened to the old minutes, and we've been here before, and you can go back and listen to them if you like. I have the date, but the county did commit to providing a professional transcription of the minutes, and I believe that's what we need. So I know there's another motion on the floor right now, but I would move that we have a transcription of the minutes so that the public could have access to something.
Well, before you make,
I have a comment.
sure.
Chairman. I received a transcript of our last meeting's minutes on the 20th of May.
Correct.
Is that not what we're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Is
But
that not, I mean, it sounds like what three people have asked for, but I think we have that.
No, that's not what we asked for,
No.
Mr. McDowell. We're asking for we had a formatted way of how the minutes should be provided based on the agenda, and then making sure that the motions were there, all of that. The transcription that you're talking about is transcribed as from Zoom, and that is a video or audio recorded for minutes. And if we're going to do it in that manner, I'm making a recommendation that we actually,
The minutes
because
that I
that's not how-
received are, the minutes that I received are written.
okay,
that's a transcript.
that is a transcript. So it's not in the format that we had, and this happened before you came on, Mr. McDowell. We
Yes.
had a formatted way that the minutes should be done for our meetings so that we could actually have that. That's what I'm referring to, Mr. McDowell.
I think I know I have a clear understanding of what everybody's talking about. So let me suggest that we do it this way. We had a motion to approve the minutes that was sent to you in the format they were sent. I'm asking this, can we get this motion carried and accept that? And then we will entertain Ms. Mangum's motion that future minutes would be in the written format.
Well, perhaps I wasn't clear. I'm not suggesting that we accept these. I'm suggesting that they be in the format along with any future minutes. So I would not be supporting the motion.
Okay, well, let me suggest this. The make of that motion, if you withdraw that motion to approve these minutes, and the person that seconded the motion, if you withdraw the second, then we'll entertain a new motion that these minutes will not be accepted, that we'll accept a new motion that these minutes will be put in the minute written format and resubmit it to everybody. Does that make sense?
Did I make the motion? If so, I will withdraw it.
And I second and I withdraw.
Okay, now we will entertain the new motion that the April 28th meeting minutes would be converted to the traditional written minute format and resubmit it to this group.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman. The motion is to defer the minutes received from April 28th so that it is put in the format that has been designed for this committee. That's my motion.
I will second that motion.
Okay, the motion, there's been a motion that's been moved in second. Are there questions? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Okay, I will give Ms. Baker Borkins.
Do you want to
tomorrow.
call for nays? Did everyone agree?
Are there any objection to the motion?
No.
Okay.
Are there any objection to the motion? So motion carried. Okay, I will get Ms. Baker Borkins tomorrow if I can reach her and share with her what the wish of this group is. Okay. All right, well,
Mr. Williams has his hand up.
sure, go ahead.
And Mr. Chair, I was just saying if Sharon is out, because she had some family issues, if she's out, you can just maybe send me a copy of the minute format that is acceptable, that has been used in the past, and we'll just make it happen.
Well, do you have a copy of that format, Ms. Hardy or Ms. Mangum? Do either one of you have a copy of that format?
I'll have to go and look. Mr. Blatters, either way, we'll get it to him.
So we'll,
I mean, I don't have it in front of me. That makes
okay,
sense.
so we'll, what I don't have a copy of what you guys talking about. So if one of you would take the responsibility to get the format that that you're talking about, so that there won't be any questions about what it is you're looking for, and just get that to copy Mr. Williams and Miss Baker Borkins, and if you send Nancy and I a copy of it, we'd appreciate it.
Okay, it'll be sent to everybody, so everybody has it.
Okay, well, send to everybody, but sooner we do that, the sooner we can get on top of this thing and get moving on it. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will move to item number 6 on the agenda, which is the SPLOST update. We'll ask Mr. Kingsbury if he will begin his presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Let me try to share my screen again. It worked earlier. Here we are. Hit the little button. So does everyone see the slide that says Cal SPLOST agenda?
Yes.
So we'll move down to the next page. It's pretty self-explanatory. I'll try to go quickly and at the end be available for questions. I'll just give you some of the highlights. I think some of y'all joined the Cal SPLOST committee, watched the Ustream this morning. So revenue update, the actual amount collected for the first 4 full years is $271.6 million in round numbers. That leaves us 22 months left out of the 6-year SPLOST program. The projected value when we started this endeavor back in 2017, when the projections were done, was for $264.8 million. So we're running a little bit ahead. And we've also collected $2 million, almost $2 million in interest. So we're 6.8 million to the good of where we thought we'd be 4 years ago. The straight line projections, just based on the averages of what we've gotten to date, we will be within about 2% of where we thought we'd be, end up perhaps close to $390+ million. So that's the good news. Other good news is that the board authorizes the projects to be built almost as fast as the money rolls in. So to date, out of the money collected, they've authorized expenditures of just under $185 million. And we've got about $57 million in projects that are near board action, approval of a bid or actual approval of purchases of equipment. And 88% of all the money we've received has been authorized or budgeted. So that's a good metric. We don't have a lot of money sitting in the bank. The headwinds we're worried about, just like your home budget, costs are going up, supply chain issues are real, and material shortages are real. So we're watching all those things closely. Good news is, as we get into the slides later, we don't think it'll adversely affect the entire program. We just, at the end of the day, we're going to get a lot of new stuff, just might not getting as much new stuff as we thought we'd get 4 years ago. So let me jump down to the biggest part of the program, resurfacing budgets. So there are 3 completed projects, contracts. They paved 125 miles of roads. They're done. We've got 3 contracts that are active, or 3 contracts that are awarded. We're rescinding one. The Snow Corporation backed out of taking the award. As I explained to the board this morning, they're one of the state's largest contractors. They had, I think they're just overcommitted. So we're going to rebid that. They had indicated they were going to ask for substantial change orders, and we didn't think it was justified. Other contractors have asked for change orders that are in line with the guidelines of Georgia DOT on asphalt, liquid asphalt price indexes. So HEH is working, and Pittman is finishing up a contract, and HEH is in the award stage They were the low bidder of the 2021 LMIG contract. So that's this summer, there'll be another 50 miles of resurfacing underway. And this fall, we'll have that Snell contract rebid and hopefully awarded before the end of the year for 25 miles. So that'll get us up to 200 miles. Then the recent averages have been creeping up on a per mile basis. We were lucky. First three contracts came in under budget. Current contracts are coming in a little over the original estimates. But that being said, we think we're going to get pretty close to that 300-mile list. As I explained to the board this morning, the 300-mile list is a term we use. It's actually 338 miles, I believe. So we could get between 300 and 311 miles, depending on how things come up. Might be a little short, but at the end of the day, we're going to get almost all of the worst roads that are identified when the SPLOST program is put together, resurfaced. So that's where the resurfacing's at. Let me slide down the next slide. So fire station projects, we get a lot of questions. The county had some of the oldest fire stations in the metro area. Fire Station 7 is under construction. We're about halfway through the budget and it's on schedule, hopefully to get finished by February of 2023. I think the original building was built in the early 50s or late 40s and almost as old as Fire Station 5 in Tucker. We've been going back and forth with multiple property owners. We're getting close, we think, to an offer being accepted, and we could have that one under design by the end of the year. Fire Station 27 out in the eastern part of the county, north of Lithonia and Stonecrest, off of State Route 124. The property owners accepted the offer. All the due diligence is completed, and a closing date has been scheduled. I believe it's about the second week in July. And the design to site adapt Fire Station 7 to the new site is underway. So we could have bids out this summer and that project under construction this year. City of Stonecrest is working with us on swapping some property the county owns in Covington Highway to relocate Fire Station 14 to property in front of the Stonecrest, City of Stonecrest Athletic Complex on Covington Highway, about 1.5 miles from an existing fire station site. So it's within the same service area. And then we just recently, in the last few days, found out Fire Station 16, the owners confirmed their interest to sell to us, and we've started the due diligence for environmental and survey. And Fire Station 28 in the southeast part of the county, we appraised the property. The owners asked for a meeting. They met with us, verbally said they would like to sell the property to the county, and we've sent them a formal letter, and they've indicated they're going to respond back with a counteroffer. So hopefully we'll have a number from them in a few days. So fire stations, we're budgeting for 6 and see how the bids come in. I was talking to the chief earlier. If we only get 4, that's 4 new one, 4 more than we had at the start of the program. So we're watching the vertical construction costs very carefully. Then the additional public safety projects, Ms. Bussey was on the call this morning and reminded everybody about the issue of the drug storage and the evidence storage facility at Bobby Burgess. That turned out to be a critical issue that has to be resolved. So the best solution the facilities group and the SPLOST team came up with is we're going to renovate the old animal control building at the corner of Kensington and Camp Circle into a state-of-the-art evidence storage facility. That solves 2 problems. It gets the big problem out of the Bobby Burgess building, and it gives the county a much more organized and safe and secure. And as we explained to Ms. Alice this morning, the air quality will be a lot better. You don't have to worry about visitors and the staff getting sick from fumes and so forth. And then concurrent with that design effort, we're updating and reevaluating with various police departments, various departments of public safety that are in Bobby Burgess, what their long-range space planning needs are, and then that'll kick off planning for the Bobby Burgess replacement and the new public safety campus this summer. Courthouse projects, we've replaced the roof, the chillers, the elevators, and the last big ticket item at the courthouse, the capital repairs, was to upgrade the parking deck. It's 40 years old and serious need of repairs, and that design is underway. Then there was some money left in that line item, and the critical, after we did the building repairs. Sheriff's Department and the court staff, now that they're getting back open for business in person, there's some much needed security improvements, and those items are in the acquisition phase. So that's the public safety category. Libraries, they had a very small budget, but we're focusing on their most important needs, and those are upgrading restrooms at these libraries on the slide: Chamblee, Clarkston, Decatur, Flat Shoals, Gresham, Lithonia, Redan, and Wesley Chapel. It does three things. One, the restrooms just wear out; they get a lot of use. Two, we'll put new energy saving fixtures in there, low flow toilets and so forth. And three, they don't meet the current ADA standards because they were those standards have evolved. So it'll be easier to maintain, more efficient, and fully ADA compliant. And the contractor's been selected, and we're going through the scheduling process of when to start work. As I explained to the board, part of the contract is at each library, there'll be a fancy air-conditioned portable restroom building, a trailer, like you see on a movie set, be at each facility to serve the patrons while the restrooms are being renovated. So that's where we're at with the libraries. And it's embarrassing. I noticed we had a typo on artificial turf fields, but park fields and courts. This is the year we're closing out almost all of the park improvement projects. And they fell into three major categories: replacing and upgrading the heaviest use, the fields that get the heaviest use, like at Gresham baseball and so forth, and Wade Walker Park that hosts football and soccer and baseball, with artificial turf that does three things for the county. They don't have to mow it, don't have to fertilize and irrigate it every day, and it allows play almost year round. Unlike a natural turf field, if there's a heavy rain event, you can't play on it because it'll damage the turf. Artificial fields, drainage systems built in underneath, so they're playable just about every day of the year. And in a companion to that, the other big ticket item was to go into all the parks and re-fence, resurface, restripe basketball courts and tennis courts, new nets, new poles, and so forth. So all those contracts have been let. As you can see, the work is either underway, completed, or in permitting. So hopefully by the end of the year, certainly spring of 2023, all the park projects will be completed. And then the next three slides, I see Gail's waving her hand. You have a question?
Just a quick question, Chris. What is the life expectancy of the artificial turf fields?
Between 10 and 15 years. We've had them in some high school situations. They're going to their 12th year with no problems. And then the under drain system, the sub-grade construction you do, that stays there forever, the drainage. So when you go to replace the artificial turf, it's not as expensive as building it from scratch. Good question, thanks.
I have a question. Is
Yes,
the
Ms. Maggie.
artificial turf as safe as regular grass, like for certain
Yes,
sports?
it passes several tests. There's for lack of a better term, it's an abrasion test. It mimics the friction of natural turf. We've got about, I don't know, we've been involved in probably 40 fields, different districts around metro area. I suspect in Atlanta there's over 100 fields nationwide. It's not the dominant turf, but it's very common. And I'm not aware of a study that would indicate that there's a greater degree of injury, or natural or artificial. But it's a good question. Thanks.
Chris,
wanna
I have
go-
a question.
Yes, Ms. Love.
On libraries, what's happening to the Doraville Library? I understand that the building does not belong to the county. The
You know,
library does, and it's,
Yeah, I'll pass that question on to the library director. Zach may have the answer top of his head. These buildings are all county owned, and we're the ones the library trustees and staff had identified as the SPLOST program was being developed as needing these renovations. So other library buildings in the system, I'm just not following that closely. They're not SPLOST projects. But I'll circle back with Zach and get you the answer.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Then I was saying, I won't go through these, but there's 3 slides that detail all of the, I call them the miscellaneous, some of them are actually large, Lithonia Pool, NH Scott Pool and Lithonia Pool buildings. But this is all of the building work ongoing or completed at the parks. And that's everything from roof replacements at concession stands and gymnasiums, new shelters like at County Line Park. The shelter was damaged and was removed. We're putting a new one in. Parks are getting new playgrounds and so forth. So this is to date the list of all the projects that are completed or in progress. And as the year evolves, there's a few more as we get the bids in. We'll be able to go back to the original needs list from the Parks Department and see if we can add more projects in. But right now, these are all in the budget and underway or completed. Then just a highlight of where the rest of the money goes in transportation.
Sorry, can we back up?
Yes, sure. Oh, and I'm not going to go through it tonight, but you also got a second file, which is a 6-page file of a bar chart schedule of all the major projects.
Okay.
It was attached to your mail out from Sharon, I believe, yesterday.
Right. So we can tell which projects have actually been completed and which ones are still in progress.
Correct. It's color coded, and there's a timeline bar. So everything in green is done or
right.
Yeah.
And the other question is there a way to show what's spent by district?
Yeah, that's in Teams. We can pull that out. The Teams reports, the website tracks the project's expenditures by district.
It does. I was just wondering if it's possible to summarize it.
Yeah, that can be generated and sent out. Some of the commissioners ask for that on a periodic basis.
That would be very helpful.
Not a problem. So back to the non-resurfacing transportation project. So out of the $388 million SPLOST is expected to generate, and hopefully it could be over 390, resurfacing is 151 million out of the 240 set aside for transportation. And what's really unique or important for DeKalb, I think, prior to SPLOST, we as a county had no dedicated funds for matching federal projects and state projects. And so GDOT and ARC would program projects, and the county was often unable to guarantee the match, and the projects were reprogrammed to other counties. So having that $25 million account, and we've pulled down about a little less than half of that to match projects that included everything from sidewalks to schools to the South River Trail, the improvements on Rockbridge Road. So that's an important part of the SPLOST program that we didn't have before.
Okay.
And then we had a 63 million left for everything else that's transportation related. So that's things like safety improvements, guardrails, signals, new traffic signals, sidewalks and trails. And then out of that 63, we've budgeted authorized about $29 million for projects, which include some trail project designs. For instance, the right-of-way acquisition on Glenwood will come out of that. The pedestrian improvements and mini roundabouts on North Decatur Road. And again, all those projects are highlighted by name in the schedule document. This is a slide I think the county should be really proud of. We've got a great relationship with the finance folks and the LSBE office. It's a huge number. I don't think any other metro county could claim this, that 49% of the dollars that were awarded have gone to local businesses. In a large part, that's somewhat helped by HEH as a woman-owned minority contractor based in the Ellenwood area. And her firm has been awarded 3 major paving contracts. So that's a lot. And then all of our sidewalk contracts, concrete work, have gone to 3 vendors who are all LSBE firms. So I think when we started the Programs Act, the county's goal was 20% LSBE participation. So we've better than doubled that. Oop, did my slides go away? Hang on. I've hit the wrong button here.
Miss Bessie has her hand raised.
Right. I got my audio. I just got to get my my picture back.
We can see the picture, Chris.
Okay, well, you're doing better than I can. Where did it go? Oh, well, if you can see
I
the,
believe Dr. Bessie has a question.
okay, I'll go ahead and answer that now. I try to find my image. Here we go. Ms. Bussey, you got a question?
Yes, I wanted to know what's the number of small businesses, the actual number? But
I've got that in the report. We can get that to you. It's a good question. Yeah.
And then when you get it to me, I would like to know for it to be presented in the way for me to understand how many small businesses, how many minority business, how many women-owned business, so I can see if the SPLOST is carrying out the requests we had put in place to make sure we provided new opportunities for new businesses during this SPLOST period.
Yeah, I'll defer to Zach. This question comes up not infrequently. The LSPE program in DeKalb County is neutral on race and gender. It's based on the size of the business. Now, certain businesses, we know their background because they're also registered with Georgia DOT, which does track race and gender. But to the degree that the LSPE office has it, we can certainly share the numbers by firm, by name.
And any information you share, could you just share with the whole group?
Oh, certainly. No, it'll be sent out to everybody.
Okay.
The other question I had, that last sentence you have in this report, can you explain it?
Well, I think the simple way to explain it is the LSBE office is very proactive in getting the message out, and we work with them closely to the contractor community in the metro area that they expect robust participation. They publish a list of all the firms that are registered, and they offer one on every project has a mandatory sort of meet and greet, if you will, where the local LSBEs and the primes are all in the same room. Well, back in the day, now it's all in the same Zoom call. Introduce themselves, just a way to network, to form those relationships, so folks know how to put projects, put their bids in as teams.
So when you said SPLOST money stays in DeKalb County, that last part of that sentence.
Right, many of the larger projects are built by firms that are not based in DeKalb County. That's the nature of the contracting community. But the LSBE money are all local small businesses, so a very high percentage of our SPLOST program goes to firms that are DeKalb County addresses.
Thank you for that explanation.
Certainly. Then finally, we had two slides. I won't dwell on these a lot. These are more informational kickoff for discussion, perhaps really for the next SPLOST. That was, what can we do for beautification? There was $1.2 million line item in the SPLOST referendum for corridor beautification. About 2 years ago, Georgia DOT, I think Larry Johnson reached out to him, announced they were going to rebuild 3 bridges across I-285 in advance of the larger toll road project. It's the pair of bridges, Covington Highway and Red Wing Circle. They're kind of paired, and the Glenwood Road Bridge. And the county asked what kind of fencing, decorative elements would be on the bridges. And GDOT said, well, we usually put a chain link fence up. The county said, could we get a decorative aluminum fence similar to Memorial Drive? And they said, yes, but we'd ask you to pay the difference in cost between the standard chain link fence and the upgrade. And the county agreed in the fall of 2020 to absorb that cost, and but the money came out of the SPLOST beautification budget. Was a logical place to do it. The CEO and it's reached out and asked some more details as now the projects are under construction. Would the I call it the parapet wall. It's the barrier wall at the side of the bridge that the fence is on top of. Would it receive special architectural treatment? And at first they said yes, but then they said, well, the specifications have changed, and these are design build contracts. So sort of they're moving at a very fast pace. And they said it would cost, it looks like another $375,000 to add the architectural treatment. And that will probably also come out of this budget. So the bridges match the Memorial Drive bridge, which is the newest one in the county over the interstate. And then that leaves about half that budget for other projects. So after today's CAL meeting, we'll come up with a sort of a request list for each commissioner to try to get some feedback on what they think, where they think it would be appropriate to try to find some beautification projects to finish up that category. So that's that. And then the last one, if y'all tuned in, these are just sort of discussion points. I don't think it's a surprise to anybody. Y'all are very familiar with the current SPLOST legislation, and these were just things to consider as you look forward to how you would format going back to the voters for a second SPLOST. So sort of just a summary of all the different conversations we've heard about what we could do, what we could do better the next time around. So with that, I'll answer any questions you may have.
I have a question. On that last document you showed about a second splash, it's talked about it as if it's a given.
No, I don't take anything for granted. The conversation is every county we've ever worked in, for instance, Clayton is on SPLOST 7, Gwinnett, I think, is also on SPLOST 7. Most counties, once they get one under their belt, find it a valuable tool. And with one exception, I think, have almost always gone back to the voters and asked their permission to continue it.
Maybe just for clarity's sake in the presentation or anything we present, it might be good just to put something that says perspective or if passed by referendum. It does look like it's a done deal.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Williams has his hand raised.
Yes, Mr. Williams.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for the report, Mr. Kingsbury. I just want to go on and take the opportunity to respond to the excellent points made by Ms. Mangum and Dr. Bussey. The slide that was presented just now was really part of a brainstorming for the board. And it's just because our practice is to provide the same discussion in this meeting with the exact same slides to the oversight group. It could give the appearance that it's being taken for granted or something like that. But rest assured, the conversation with the board, there was discussion, of course, of the need and the potential changes, but not only is the board not taking it for granted, they haven't come to a policy decision that they want to pursue it. I mean, my recommendation would be that we would, but we just haven't gotten there.
And Mr. Chairman, Mr. McDowell and then Ms. Hardy both have their hand raised.
All right, Mr. McDowell.
You're on mute, Mr. McDowell, if you're speaking.
No, I'm just trying to find the unmute button. So
We can hear you now.
I turned off my video and my audio because of my poor connection here to make it better. Okay, is Mr. Kingsbury still on or did he check
yes,
out?
No, I'm here.
Okay, great. I had a couple of questions for you, Chris, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I had sent out to you a document with several questions at the end of March, and you responded by saying, I've got suggested responses to these questions, but I want to send them out internally and then coordinate our answer with responsible departments. So I haven't heard anything back from you regarding those, and I was wondering Do you need me to resend those, or is
So
there?
I've got it. And I believe one of your questions related to the audit, and we found out today, I deferred that question to Ms. McNabb, and there's a special, there's a section of the county's audit that deals with SPLOST, and she sent the link, and we'll forward that to everybody. It's a public link.
So can you repeat
Yeah,
that?
I'll get with Zach and we'll finalize those answers and get it out to everybody.
Okay, so you answered the audit question, but that wasn't that wasn't the only thing. So you,
Is that an
What was-
independent audit or? a
what
county
was the
audit?
answer to the audit question? Because I couldn't hear what you were saying.
The county's annual audit covers the SPLOST program.
Okay. And, okay. And that's publicly available, I think is what you said.
Yeah, Ms. McNabb sent the link out. So and Sharon actually had it, but as Zach said, she's out with some personal issues. So we'll get that forwarded to everybody.
All right, great. One of the other questions on there, somebody, I think it was Teresa, but I wasn't following that closely. Somebody asked you for reports by expenditure by district. And that was one of the questions that I had asked that you provide in that document that I sent to you. Do you have, and I think you just said, I'll take care of that tomorrow. Was that was that the way you answered her?
That was my question.
Okay.
Yeah, we can run those reports. I can't guarantee to be tomorrow, but the data resides in teams and we sort it by, I know Robert Patrick requests now, we've sort of got him set up. It's set up for everybody. I've got a lot of folks out tomorrow taking a long weekend, but we can get out the week.
I'm not asking for it tomorrow. I just thought you said you'd do it tomorrow, but
yeah, no, it exists in the team's database, so it's not a big deal to run a report by district.
Great. Okay. And
I had also asked, oh, I'm sorry. Are you finished?
Now, Teresa had a question, Gina, before you.
Go ahead.
Before you. If Mr. McDowell's finished, then we'll hear what Teresa.
I'm not through yet. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So, Chris, in our last meeting, I had asked you about specifically Evans Road, and my question was, in one of the reports, it showed that there was 1.5 miles to be paved, and in the other, and in the team's database, it shows a picture of the paving stopping at the corner of Gladney and then turning down Gladney Road. So I was wondering if you had a chance to figure out the answer to that. Do you recall that question?
I do recall that, and I believe that's the area A with Snell that we're going to re-advertise, and that was going to be dealt with as a amendment to the contract when he got it. So I'll circle back and make sure that is sorted out. We were aware of a glitch.
So do we think that the full length of Evans Road will be paved or not?
Yeah, let me double check. The only thing that comes to mind that I need to confirm was that we pull a section out because of another utility project, say a sewer line replacement, something that was going to impact the road in the next year or two. That's not the only reason we wouldn't pave a whole road from intersection to intersection. But good memory. I'll follow back, double check on that. Thanks.
Okay. And in January, I reported an error in the team's database to Jennifer, and it's still, as of today, that error still exists. The database shows that the part of Northbrook Drive that was paved is the western section, and in reality, the eastern section was the part that was paved. That's not a big deal.
I think the map got corrected on the website, so maybe the
I think the map did not get corrected. As of about an hour ago, it still had the error.
All right, we can solve that problem easily.
So, well, what I'm getting at here is and I don't want this to sound too strong, but it might. The reality is, when there's little errors like that in the database, how can we trust the rest of the database?
No, certainly. Out of the 200 miles,
It takes away
section. So
the trust level.
I'd venture our error rate is just several percentage points.
I hope that's the only one, but hey,
That's not.
what can we do?
I can guarantee you it's not the only one. My point is, out of hundreds and hundreds of sections, the numbers.
That one just happens to be in my district. That's all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the next thing is in the monthly reports, and I'm new here. I've only been on this committee for a few months, but it looks like on the LMIG resurfacing projects, it looks like the plan for 2020 is still in process, and the plan for 2021 and 2022 has not begun.
No, so the LMIG, those are the combined projects. They're 25 miles. The LMIG portion is approximately a third. The money that comes from the state, say $4 million. The balance, $8 to $10 million, depending on the value is bid, is the SPLOST money. We let them together get a better price. LMIG 2020 was awarded to Pittman, and it is nearly completed. And LMIG 2021 is pending an award through HEH, and LMIG 2022 is in purchasing to go out for advertisement later this year.
So what's the expectation for beginning and completing these projects? I mean,
well, LMIG 2020, I think he was supposed to be finished today. He was like his 97th mile. So you can consider LMIG 2020 done, and the map should reflect that.
The last monthly report didn't appear from the expenditure that it would be done today.
Well, remember, there's always a month lag on those, so you'll get a new monthly report here in the next couple of weeks. But 2020 is almost finished. 2021 is yet to get a notice to proceed, and 2022 is yet to be advertised. And we're confident, we haven't heard anything from the state, that they're going to rescind what we hope will be 23 and 24 LMIG money.
That's where I'm going with this. Is there not, are we not worried that these things will the matching funds will get away, or are they committed fully, or what?
Well, the 20, they're committed to us a year in advance. So the board approved the 2022 request in 21 at the end of the year. And this spring, after the General Assembly meets, you get validation that 2022 LMIG money will be sent. So that money is real. It's going to be in the bank. We're not worried. With the suspension of the gas tax and what the feds may do, some other issues at GDOT, we don't think it's possible. We think it's, but there's always that possibility. But the LMIG program, we haven't heard anything to the contrary that it's going to be suspended.
So we think 2021 is complete or real close.
Yes.
And we expect 2021 is funded and the money won't be taken away, but we're not sure about 2022.
No, we're sure about 2020. LMIG money is a grant. We're not sure how the state will structure the 2023 and 2024 awards.
So 2022 is
money in the bank.
And so even if it gets done in 2023 or 2024, the money's there and we won't have to worry about.
Correct. It's LMIG is not a reimbursement program. It's a direct grant.
Okay, great. Okay.
Good questions though. Yeah.
I like looking at numbers. Okay, that's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Thank
I'll
you,
circle back to your
Chris.
March memo. Thanks.
I'm gonna resend some and restructure those questions that I sent you 2.5 months ago. I'll
All right,
go
I'll look
ahead
forward to it.
and just as a reminder for what I was looking for. Okay.
Got it.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Teresa.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, I had my question, I was writing my questions as you were going through the presentation, Mr. Kingsbury. So my question is, for the fire stations, for all six, well, you said there was 2 that we were gonna get, and the other 4 maybe. Is the plan to work on them all at the same time over the next splosh? Is that why you put that in?
I think what I meant to say, I may have gotten the numbers reversed. We're pretty confident with the budget and even with inflation, we'll get 4 new fire stations. One's under construction, one is going to go to bid this summer, and we're closing in on the property for the next 2. But if the costs keep escalating, those might be the only 4 the current SPLOST program builds, so we'd be 2 short. And if there were to be a SPLOST 2, I would assume they would roll over into the next program.
Okay. And then my other question is around the libraries. When we're doing since they were all the same restroom renovations, can you tell me or confirm that is it one contractor doing all of the restroom renovations, or do y'all have several different contractors doing
It's one contractor. That way he can schedule, he can order all the material at one time. Each library has a slightly different material palette, and he can have multiple crews doing different things, stages work. And it's one of the county's on-call contractors that we negotiated with that does renovation work.
Okay. And then the other one is on the parks and fields, and I like how you broke it down, because now I can see where we're talking about when it comes to parks, because we get a lot of complaints about, are we doing parks with Splosh, and people are not understanding, have concerns about what's being done with Splosh as it relates to the parks. And
Right.
My concern was with the NH Scott Park. Have we identified everything that's going to be done with that park as it relates to Splosh?
Yes, so the NA Scott received 2 major improvements. Well, they received 1, the new roof on the rec center, and there was a line item in SPLOST for pool renovations, and all that money is going to NH Scott because that was a pool that I think you're familiar with has been closed for a number of years. So it's basically reconstructing that pool.
Okay, so it is part of the Splosh.
Yeah, and there's a line item in the bar chart schedule that shows its estimated start and complete. Keeping our fingers crossed, it's in design now, and we hope to get it out to bid here shortly and build it this winter and have it open by next summer. But I'm not going to guarantee that, the way things are going in life. But it's underway finally.
All right, thanks. Those are my questions as it relates to your report. Thanks.
Thank you.
Gina, you had a question.
Yeah, my question was also around the fire stations. I know that a lot of this depends on the timing, but are you doing any prioritization other than, what happens first? I mean, as you're probably aware, because I brought it up quite a bit, there's no fire station. The one that's being built out here for I think it's 27.
Correct. That's the one we hope to get out to bid here shortly. Now the land is, the closing is any day now.
And I still need that address. I remember the county they were looking at several properties, and I'm not sure which one they ended up with.
Yeah, we can send the address again. I think we sent that out last time, but as soon as the property closes,
I didn't get it.
We'll put it on the GIS map will be updated with the address, but we'll send that out to you.
So how is the prioritization done? Like if costs
Prioritization was set by Chief Fulham at the beginning of the program, where he analyzed service times, parts of the county where he had no coverage, i.e. Station 27, whereas Zach will tell you the county actually pays Gwinnett and Rockdale County to come over and respond to calls.
Right.
And getting new buildings in the areas where he had the oldest buildings that can't take the newest equipment.
No, I understand that. My question is, if costs escalate, as you say, and we're not able to do all that we hope to do, how will you determine what gets done first?
The one that's on the bubble for sure, if cost escalated greatly, would be 14 and Covington Highway corridor. That's a high priority, but it's not the highest priority. And then I couldn't really say which other ones might not make it. Some of it determines how long it takes to come to terms on acquiring the land. As you can appreciate, the land has to be within a certain service area, a dot on the map. And I think we're going to get all the property that we need this SPLOST. So that would be the good news. The bad news would be if we come up short budget wise in the current SPLOST, there could be two opportunities. One, the county could perhaps use general funds for that station on land the SPLOST program bought, or as we said earlier, it could roll into a second SPLOST if the board want to go back to the voters with that option.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, Dr. Bussey has her hand raised.
Sure. And then after her, I have a question of Chris. Go ahead, Dr. Bussey.
Thank you. My question is follow up to the fire stations. In creating the SPLOST, Chief Fulham presented all of the necessary information to make sure safety was a number one priority in the types of projects that were selected. So we also did site visits to look at those fire stations. Because of the population growth in the unincorporated area, there are universal standards that have to be met according to population. So as I was listening to your response to all the questions, I was trying to see if you were answering the real issue, and that is safety and the population increase and the general budget, because SPLOST is not just the total budget for the county. The county has the responsibility of safety. And I just wanted to make sure that's clear.
That's a good point, Ms. Bussey. That ISO service rating sets the standards on response times for households and population in a certain fire response area. So that all goes into Chief Fulham's recommendations to us.
So part of that was, I asked that because that was a commitment saying we need to have at least, I think it was around 8 stations or 9 or 6 in that realm. So it was not a choice that, well, we might do this or we might not do this.
That's correct. But what Chief Fulham has done is, as the budgets evolved and became clear we weren't going to be able to build 8, I think at one time it was as high as 12, he said, these are the ones I absolutely positively need first. And as you're all familiar, Station 7 operated out of a building. At one time, the county had to actually condemn itself because the toilet stopped working. So we got that one out of the ground as fast as we could.
Thank you.
Sort of that worst to first philosophy that Zach talks about a lot.
Chris, this is Isaac Blythe. I have a question regarding quality control, whether or not that exists or not on projects. I would.
Yeah, it exists on 2 levels. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's about a 2-mile stretch of. It's a combination. It's a pretty long thoroughfare, and it's a combination. It appears to be, to me, from a layman's perspective, a combination of paving and patching. This stretch runs from, it's on South Indian Creek Road. It runs from Redan Road to Covington Highway. To me, if this project is considered completed and the contractor that performed the work has been paid, I think the county ought to be very embarrassed for the citizens that live in that area that have to see that every day. It looks terrible. This street, normally when they pave, when I've seen them pave the street, they pave the left side and then they pave the right side. And when they pave it together, both sections come together. This street has about in some cases, maybe 3 to 4 inch gap right down the center on the section that appears to me that has been paved. There's no striping on there. And this work was done over a year ago. And so if somebody from your unit hadn't been out there to look at this, I would challenge you to go out there and look at that. And I would be interested in knowing if this is the type of work that the county want to present to the citizens who's footing the bill for a lot of this, because this whole program, was really centered around paving. And if this is the type of paving that we are going to put out there, I'm very disappointed. So
I'll certainly go back and look. My memory, Mr. Blige, I don't think South Indian Creek was a SPLOST project. There are a lot of roads that are impacted by the water line work. And
no, there was no water line work on that section of that street.
So you're talking in Redan to Covington. I'll double check.
I'm talking about Redan Road all the way to where
Redan. I thought you South Indian. Okay, yeah.
No, Redan Road. Now, what are you talking about? It was a paving, not a paving, but a sewer related project. That section you talking about, but I'm talking about from Redan Road to Covington Highway, where South Indian Creek terminates. So
I'm confused. So this is South Indian Creek Road or Redan Road, north of Indian Creek. Because Redan goes dead ends into Kensington.
Redan Road.
Yeah.
Redan Road to Covington Highway from Redan on South Indian Creek.
All right, I'll let me look at that in the morning.
Yeah, look at that. I would be, and if it wasn't a SPLOST project, if it was something the county done, if it's something the county has done, shame on the county, because this to me is not representative of the type of work that we ought to be providing to the citizens, and that's my comment.
Yeah, I'll follow up on that. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, I believe Ms. Waldorf has a comment or question, and then Dr. Bussey again.
All right, go ahead, Gail.
Chris, I have a quick question about the section that you showed us regarding the beautification projects.
Yeah.
Who determines, you said there was $1.5 or $2 million available?
Right. So what we're going to do is ask the commissioners to come up with some ideas. Mr. Rader's championed the Druid Hills Gateway. We've done some research with CSX and GDOT about how best to solve the dilemma of the signage on the bridge, which while it's there, it doesn't work, and getting the railroad's permission to do the work and so forth. So that's potentially one project. Some of the CIDs were interested in some of their interchange gateways. A lot of those interstate projects that were initially envisioned in 2016 and 17, when that category was put together, similar to what some of the CIDs had done on interstates around Metro Atlanta, were all sort of put on the back burner when GDOT announced their major plans to rebuild 285 to accommodate the express lanes. So it's, as the year evolves, we'll be sort of getting some input from each commissioner.
Okay, so the commissioners would put forth some ideas and then the whole commission has to vote on each project?
Correct. They all have to vote on the expenditures.
Okay, well, it is definitely a gateway project. I just wanted to double check with you. Thank you.
Certainly.
Dr. Bussey.
I wanted to ask about the county line pavilion that you mentioned in your report.
Yes.
And I want to know, what do you call a pavilion?
It was the picnic shelter that was there originally. It's I forget the size of it.
It was very small, and we had told you that we wanted a large pavilion that will accommodate at least 100 people when we met with you.
The SPLOST program, I think, as we're all aware, we can only, on the park side, we can't build anything new. We can only replace what existed that was damaged or needed repairs. So that large 100+ person pavilion is something that's in the master plan, I believe Marvin, Billups, and Chuck have shown the community, and again, would be part of a future bond or SPLOST program to do that entire park renovation to accommodate that.
Well, there's no need in putting up something that's small. It was very small because it was built so many years ago that does not fit what the community needs. So we need to look at the other option for that, because the county is going to need to come up with some other money to leverage, because it does not do anything for that park to put back that size, a small size pavilion. It would not suit anything that that park needs with one pavilion.
We'll ask Marvin and Chuck to circle back with you. Our understanding was that everybody was in agreement on the master plan, and then it showed replacing the pavilion, but we'll certainly have them reach out to you.
Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions of Mr. Kingsbury? If not, we will move on to item number 7, which is old business. The first item under old business is the update of the SPLOST Citizen Oversight 2021 Annual Report Committee. So Gina, you headed that up, so if you could begin the discussion, I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, as I sent out an email with a draft of the proposal that the committee came up with. The committee consisted of me, Gail Waldorf, and Dr. Bussey. And I asked for feedback. I didn't hear from anyone, so I guess I would entertain a motion to accept it, or make a motion that it be accepted if there's no objections to the format.
I have a question about it, Gina.
Uh-huh.
What happens when part of District 2 has just been realigned? And so we acquired property that we didn't have before, and one of the projects that I would have named if I were to fill that out for District 2 went into District 1.
Well, the report is as of 2020 and 2021. So I think you'll be fine.
It would be done for last year, but it's not the same District 2 that we would have this year.
Right, but the report is for 2020 through 2021. So it would be
Correct.
The way the district looked in 2020 and 2021.
At what date? At the end of December 21?
Well, the other thing you could do, Nancy, I mean, this is really a report out, and we don't want to, get too far into the minutia, because we know that district lines shifted. There's two ways you can address it. One is to get with somebody in district, I think it'd be 6, and maybe cover it there, because as you know, there's overlap in District 6 and 7.
Okay, so let the super district handle it. Handle that part of it.
Well, what I'm suggesting, and the whole point of this, is to kind of work together, because you don't want to have people reporting the same thing. So this is a good example of where there might be overlap, where you might get with, the District 6 representative and say, hey, I think this is really important. Are you going to include it in your report? Or should I include it in mine? But the key is to let the citizens know what the important projects are, major projects are, and how much is being spent. I think that's our mission.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments or additions?
Ms. Hardy has her hand raised.
Yes, Teresa.
Yes, I just want to go ahead and make the motion to accept the drafted format for our reporting.
I second.
All right, it's been moved and second that the report for the annual draft annual report be accepted. Are you ready for the question? All in favor of said motion, let it be known by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, the motion carried. Is there any discussion, additional discussion on the motion?
I think we probably need to set a deadline for this report. I mean, it's already overdue. So if you want to suggest a time that people get their stuff in, I think that might be wise.
Oh, I had, when I looked at what I received, which is what everybody else received, and looking at this, and I struggle with how I would actually fill out the sections for District 4, especially it got more amplified this morning when I clicked on that Zoom meeting and listened to the commissioners that was on the line. It appeared that there wasn't a whole lot of agreement amongst the commissioners as to the projects that were being worked on that they thought was priorities versus what the county thought was a priority. So my only resource for being able to fill this out would be to get with Steve Bradshaw and get his thoughts and get some additional assistance from Chris if I even made an attempt to fill out the section for District 4. But I thought that the top page would really, in my opinion, would suffice as a report with the other attachments being left off. That would expedite everything, and it pretty much covers everything that I think that we would like to say. Those were my thoughts when I reviewed it a number of times, Gina.
Well, with all due respect, we just accepted the format. So what I would suggest is, it's really not Commissioner Bradshaw's perspective. We're trying, this is a citizen's oversight. So if I could just make a suggestion, if you could get out in the community and see what they think is important, not necessarily the commissioners.
I wouldn't know.
I believe the report is from the citizen perspective.
So Gina and Isaac, sorry, you guys, I'm trying not to interrupt, but I did. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
But the as an oversight committee, our tool is teams. And this information is in teams on what projects have been done in that time that we've been, for the last past year. So when you requested, and I thought that's why you were requesting the report by district, the district reports are out there on the type, and maybe you don't have to go so far into saying that the paving happened on Redan Road. You could just say paving of 25 square feet actually got done in the area during that time. Something like that. We can, again, I think what Isaac was saying is that we can work with Chris on that, but I think it's a good exercise so that the oversight committee knows what has been done in this under SPLOST as well. I don't think this is a go and see from our commissioners. The commissioners have their own thing, and then Chris has been reporting that. One thing to note too is that what we're doing is oversight over unincorporated. And so when you start talking to the commissioners, they have, I don't know, and this is something that I was going to bring up, is when they're talking, and probably this is Isaac, this is why it was getting confusing too, is under the commissioners, they still also have I guess, oversight into what the municipal areas is doing. I'm not sure, but that's something to discuss. But our responsibility is what's going on in unincorporated DeKalb. And I think we can get that information from teams really
Yeah,
easy.
I understand all of that, Teresa. So
Okay.
somebody had the hand raised.
It was me.
Oh,
It was me, and you didn't see me, so that's why I interrupted.
okay.
If I could just add that the only reason I said the community was in deciding what projects you think are most visible or important. That's all. For instance, you were talking about, the road or Indian Creek or Redan Road. I mean, obviously that's something you've gotten feedback on or seen yourself.
No, that's just a road that occasionally I travel on. In fact, to be honest with you, I think that section is probably in District 3. I don't believe it's in District 4.
Okay, but my
It's-
point
it's-
is in
it's-
deciding what's important or what you want to report, it's just things that you observe or have heard about or are particularly large that you want to highlight.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be in 3 sections, highlights, challenges. You can just write what's important in your district. That's all.
All right, I got it. Okay. Any other questions? Any other comments? Okay. The next item, and I was approaching 8 o'clock.
I'm
so-
sorry, I just wanted to address the deadline. We need a
Oh,
deadline.
yeah, okay, I'm sorry. So suggest a deadline.
Can everybody do it by the next meeting?
The next meeting is August 25th. So that should be plenty of time.
Sounds, that's a good suggestion, Gina.
So we can make a motion so that it's on our records.
So moved.
Second,
So moved.
Okay.
Okay, it's been moved in second that the report be completed prior to our next meeting, which is August 25th. I would just like to add to that, let's try to get it maybe a week before the meeting so that the committee will have a chance to look at it and tweak it. And so when we come back on the 25th at the meeting, we will have scrubbed it and it would be something that we would want to present.
With all due respect, if the committee's going to look at it, let's try 2 weeks before.
All right, well, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however, but I think that you guys need to look at it and that you're more familiar with what it is you're looking for than the rest of us. And I think it would be helpful if you guys scrubbed it and got with the different members if there was questions or whatever, so that you can get that ironed out prior to the meeting. That was the spirit of my suggestion on that. So
Okay, I'm looking at my calendar and let's just get a date. That'll make it real easy.
All right, whatever, but give yourself time to for your group to look at it.
So let's say August 4th or August 5th. I'm sorry, that's a Friday.
Okay.
That doesn't give, I have a vacation schedule that's going to make that pretty hard.
For the whole month of July?
Well, for the first part of July, I could do it by the 11th, but the 4th is going to be very difficult. I'm out of country.
The
4th of
11th.
August.
I hear that.
Oh.
But I'm going to be gone for the 2 weeks even before that, 3 weeks before that.
Okay, how about August 10th?
That would be all right. That gives me time when I get back.
Oh,
Okay,
Thank
does
you.
August 10th work for everybody?
yes,
We'll make it work.
you're right.
Okay, it's 8:03 now. And we have several other items that we indicated that we wanted to talk about. So what's your pleasure?
Defer.
Okay.
We talking about a whole nother hour of agenda.
Or longer.
Mhm. I make a motion that we defer to the next meeting.
Okay. And
Yeah,
that would be the items that we would have on the agenda for next meeting will be an update on the retreat.
Mhm.
And we will have the election and the cow discussion.
Mhm.
All right. So can I get a motion for adjournment?
Just one other thing on the agenda. At one time, we had people coming in, and I guess that's something we can suggest, but I would like to see that on the next agenda too.
Okay, well, let me just quickly speak to that. I had reminded Sharon about this, and she ticked off a list of people that she was approaching to see what their availability was to attend or to participate in the meeting, and she wasn't able to get that aligned with any of those individual schedules, including the CEO. So between now and the next meeting, I will have her revisit that list, and it included the CEO, the Parks and Recreation Director, and a number of other folk. But I'll get with, yes.
This is Nancy. I think we should tell everybody that she had a family emergency with her husband.
Yes.
We know.
Pardon?
We already know.
We know.
Okay.
Well, I don't think everybody knows. She called me yesterday and said that she wouldn't be at the meeting, and that her husband had a slight incident and he was in the hospital. And so she said she may be here and she may not. So.
And one other point, if there's anybody who wants to make public comment, I think we should give them a chance to. I don't know that there is anybody on, but.
There currently is no citizens on. It's just all of you.
All right. Okay.
Right.
So with that, unless the committee members, group members have any comments, we'll hear those, and then we will adjourn.
Isaac, I have a comment. This is Charles.
Sure, Charles.
I very much appreciate Zach for sitting in and listening and making a few comments. I appreciate somebody that high up in the government of DeKalb County listening to what we're talking about. Thank you, Zach.
My pleasure. And great questions, Mr. McDowell. I'm going to reach out to you.
Thank you.
And just for the group's information, we copy Mr. Williams on with the agenda and everything else, and we extend an open invitation to him to participate in the meetings as they fit his schedule. So I think as much as he can be available, he will be there to add support to our discussion. So,
and I'd like to thank Gail Waldorf and Miss Bessie for taking the time to create this format. I think we worked well together and came up with something workable.
And I'd like to thank you, Gina, for stepping forward and agreeing to head this up.
Thank you.
And I want to personally say thank you guys for working well together. It is such an honor and pleasure to hear that. Woo! Woo, woo. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, with that, Mr. Mangum, it clearly indicates to me that it can be done. So we've raised the bar, so we can't lower it. we gotta continue to improve on the progress that we've made. So again, I appreciate everybody's participation, and we'll entertain that motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I second.
Second.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.
Meeting
Thank you so
adjourned.
much.